Okay, go ahead.
Yes, so the where it is a matter of knowing the people or companies that have it. How to access it is how do you structure a deal that allows you to actually get the money.
Right.
Right? And the access, this part is expertise. Experience, which I think is different, and creativity. Anything missing from that list?
You nailed it. You nailed it.
I'm just going to dump it in there for now. Okay. That money, that would be classified as private money, would it not?
In my business, I put up private money as collateral for the bank to provide their money to my clients.
Right. Okay.
So I don't know how to I don't know how to language it.
Yeah, because sometimes the money is coming from a bank, which is not private money.
Right.
You're just figuring out how to do the deal so that the bank will say yes. Okay, so there's lots of money waiting to be used. Is accessed better than used?
Yeah. And then I think the other word is capital.
That's way better. I didn't like money.
Because money is bad and evil? Come on, didn't you elaborate?
Oh, again, we want to use language that's sophisticated, right? That raises the brand.
By the way, curiosity, did you ever do the wisdom course?
I think so.
Curious.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any other language in here that you're not comfortable with?
I think a better word for people, like my mother is 78 years old. She's not looking for money. Right. So I think, and so people, I think it would be business owners or entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs and investors.
Would it be, if it's entrepreneurs, investors, whatever, would that not be businesses?
Yeah.
Right? Because whether they're looking for it for a startup or they're looking for it for a mature company.
Yeah.
I think we'll be changing this as we move down in the story, but
About maybe 6 weeks ago, I got a call by a broker in South Africa. And the broker has something called standby letter of credit, SBLCs. And what happens is that he sells copper to a company out of China. And the Chinese company is not going to pay, millions of dollars for copper that they've never got, right?
that what?
The Chinese company or any company is not going to pay millions of dollars for copper that they've never received. So they issue something called standby letter of credit, which means that their bank will freeze. Let's imagine, Ian, for a minute, imagine I have $1 billion in my bank account. And you live in South Africa and I live in Toronto. And I want to buy copper from you. And it doesn't have to be copper, it could be rice, sugar, pretty much anything. And I'm not going to write you a check for 100 million bucks for copper that you haven't given me. And now I need the copper, so I know I'm clear I have to pay you. You, on the other hand, in South Africa, you're not going to send me the copper, not knowing that I'm going to pay you or not, right? And you may even send me the copper, and then all of a sudden you may go, Timmy, you've got bad credit. You can't even afford this money like that, right? So standby letter of credit, SPLCs, as a vehicle that solves that problem. Basically, I call my bank and I say, Mr. Banker, I have $1 billion. I'm gonna buy 100 million bucks of copper. Can you issue me a standby letter of credit and the beneficiary is Ian? So bank issues a standby letter of credit, beneficiary is Ian. And then all I do is I give you a piece of paper. That's all it is. What the bank does is that they take my $1 billion and then they freeze $100 million of it. It just gets frozen. And then they issue that paper and I send it to you. In case you, so when you send me the copper, when you send the copper here to me, in case I don't pay you, don't want to pay you, whatever, all you have to do is show that paper to my bank, and by law, my bank has to give you that 100 million. So that's the assurance it has to you. So this guy in South Africa has a copper transaction with a Chinese company. He's got a piece of paper, but he needs money, like real money, not a piece of paper, so that he can afford to take the copper, put it in a ship, and send it to the Chinese company. And by the way, he has a month. Now, he's had that piece of paper for a long time. He was on the internet searching for who can monetize a letter of credit. And for some reason, the people he was approaching on the internet, nobody knows this guy, or there were bogus websites. I don't know what the deal was, but he said to me he's reached out to lots of people and nobody's got back to him. I was the only person who he sent that SPLC to and said, can you help monetize it? And I was only the person who responded, yeah, I can do it. And so all I'm doing is I take the standby letter of credit that has been issued to him. In this case, I know one European bank that loves South African companies. I give that standby letter of credit to them, and then they can issue a loan against it, or they can monetize it, like leverage it, and provide profits out of it, and then give that profit to him as the cash that he needs to take the copper and put it in a ship and send it to that manufacturer, to that company out of China. So beyond mirroring, which seems to be our hot product of the day, and providing lines of credit, monetizing standby letters of credit seems to be, I wouldn't say it's our #1 selling product, but it'll definitely be #2 selling product for the all day. And again, it's not something I can go to a party and talk about. So if people say, what do you do? I don't know, I'm an entrepreneur. But to be that crystal clear, do you have a standby letter of credit, SPLC, that you need to monetize? What's the SPLC and why would I monetize it? No.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
Now, if you're an importer exporter, and specifically in the commodity industry like rice, sugar, copper, things like that, oil and gas, you'll know exactly what I did.
Yeah, yeah, because they're dealing with them on a daily basis.
Yeah, but go to a cocktail party, I'm unemployed, happily unemployed.
So it's not that there's capital being hidden, or that there's capital that's hidden from view. It's just that it's not being accessed, right? And the money that you were talking about, that $100 million for the copper, that wasn't hidden anywhere. It just wasn't being accessed. So sometimes when someone's looking for capital, they don't know where to find it. Well, you can help them find it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And likely you will, in the case where you help them find it, you will likely also help them access it. You'll help them do the deal.
Yeah, I agree. Now, let me ask you a couple of questions.
But hang on a sec. But the money can also be in plain sight. It just can't be accessed.
Yeah.
And in your copper deal, the money was in plain sight, but it couldn't be accessed.
Right.
So it's not both of those conditions that have to be in place, just one of them.
Right. Right. So let me ask you something, and maybe my brain is too complicated because I feel the disadvantage I have and the advantage you have, Ian, is I'm not in a position that I cannot see the forest from the trees.
Yeah.
But you can.
Yeah.
And that's your advantage. And I love the fact that you even have glasses.
That's my role. Okay, so okay, so just really stripped down. You're in the business of finding and or accessing. I think.
Now, what happens the times when I am, because I'm also a private investor, or if I'm borrowing from my bank and then reselling the money to the client, then I become the bank. The other word for people like me is private equity firm.
So you have both of those inside one business?
Yeah.
I would have thought that those would be two separate businesses.
You know, when you go to Scotiabank, I don't know who you bank with, but anybody you bank with, you can get financial advice from a financial advisor at Scotiabank, but you can also borrow money from Scotiabank.
But you do it from two different, like a bank is about 40 different businesses that just artificially share the same name, right?
Right.
So your financial advisor works for an independent company that just does financial advice.
Right. And then if I want to borrow money, I go to...
You go to the borrowing institution.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, banks are facades like law firms. Law firms are, 500 self-employed lawyers.
Right.
So let's leave that aside for the moment. It's a bit of a complication, and let's keep going down this single-minded path that is based on the business that's written here. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I wrote the stripped down version here, your business is finding and or accessing capital.
Yeah.
It begs the question, what kind of capital?
Debt and equity. Combination of debt and equity.
Yes. But if that's all it is then you'd be a VC.
Right. So I call myself, or my team, we call ourselves private equity fund.
But this isn't private equity, what I've got written on the paper here. Private equity is taking a pool of money and investing it. Like, I mean, it's basically a glorified VC, is it not? Do I not understand what private equity is properly?
Give me a second. I'll do private equity. Can I share? Private equity is an alternative investment class and consists of capital that's not listed in public exchange. Private equity is composed of funds and investors that directly invest in private companies or that engage in buyout of public companies, resulting in diluting of public equity.
Okay, so what I heard there is there's always a transaction, cash for equity.
Right.
This isn't cash for equity.
Okay. Yeah, I do deals that's not cash for equity for sure.
Yeah. Like, these are deals for cash, but one of your selling points is that you don't take equity.
Right.
Yeah, I took notes. So what is it? See, if it was just private equity or VC money, then you'd just go to the list of private equity firms and start phoning them up, or the list of VCs and start phoning them up and saying, let me come in and pitch to you, right? If you were a business looking for capital.
Yeah. And we do that all day long. Like, we get pitched every day. Today at 5 o'clock, I have somebody pitching me for some business.
Okay, but that's on the private equity side, right?
That's correct.
Right. Okay. So in that case, if you like what you see, you'll give them money and they'll give you equity.
Right.
So what kind of capital is this?
Debt financing. I would say consulting. If I'm finding business, if I'm finding the bank for you, or becoming an intermediary, then I'm a consultant.
Yes, I agree. But what's the nature of the capital and why does it require you?
Because people don't know where to find it and how to find it. And also, like in my case, in my shop, we're putting up our own capital or assets with the bank so that the bank feels comfortable lending that money out.
Mm-hmm. So the person who's looking for the money is going to be the business owner or the CEO or somebody like that, senior management.
Yeah. To my surprise, it's always been the CEO. That's just my surprise, because I always thought the CFO would get involved with us.
Right.
When you've had to reach out to the CFO, the CEO gets in the table, and we end up closing the CEO.
Um, okay, so can you tell me a little bit about your typical client? What's the situation that's causing them to come to you?
So the attorney in Mexico can move $2 billion, and he wants to move $2 billion. And once he moves it, he wants to invest it and upgrade his lifestyle because it's $2 billion. So that's one. A South African guy needs cash because he needs to fulfill a contract, and he needs money to put copper on a ship. He doesn't have money to put copper on a ship. Startup guy needs $100 million so that it's a startup, so they can build demo centers. They found one customer puts up a standby letter of credit. I took the standby letter of credit, monetized it with institution. I multiplied that money by 2. So like they give me $50 million, I multiply it by 2 or leverage SPLC, got a $100 million line of credit. In this case, I am the bank. And as a bank, or I should say I'm not a bank, I'm a private lender. And I'm lending $100 million to the startup guy. Real estate development guy has $250,000. He needs millions of dollars to build a hotel, or not build a hotel, but kind of take a hotel and revamp it. And so I'm putting together. I'm getting a line of credit from a bank in the U.S. by putting up my own assets and my own cash with that bank for the bank to issue the real estate investor a line of credit and a loan. And then I take 6% of the amount of money that I'm putting up as a service fee. And I collect a small interest from the bank because I'm buying courtesy deposits from them. And if the real estate developer goes bankrupt, the bank has to go chasing the client, because the contract is with the client, although I pick 6% for facilitating that transaction. I can go on and on and on. At some point I may lose you.
No. So this notion of unlocking capital, right, is what occurred to me as you were saying that. It's like it's being, I don't know if hidden's not the right word. But what is the right word?
How can I access capital from I don't know why hidden would access hidden sources of capital.
You know what? The thing is, though, that sometimes it's in plain view. Which was your, the South African copper story. No, everyone knew where the money was. They just couldn't access it. You had to unlock it. So this is
so unlocking 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 capital that unlocking restricted capital.
Yeah, I don't like
Restricted.
restricted, but I'm just it's sort of a right word, and I just put it there. Actually, I want to find synonyms.
Funny, I was thinking about metaphors.
Restricted. Why are you telling me that's misspelled? Oh, I see why. Because it is misspelled. Cramped, confined, constricted, small, narrow, compact, tight, pokey, minimal, sparse, inadequate, straight, incommodious, limited. Not helpful. Barred, blocked, closed, confined. Confined is an interesting idea. Controlled, defined, deprived, prescribed, reduced, restrained. Restrained, restricted, that's sort of where we are. Secured, shortened, tethered. Okay. You've got the Word document on your screen, right?
Yeah. Give me a second. There's a website that's a hippopotamus on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just looking for that. Apologies. Give me a second. Come on, where would I find a hippopotamus website? This sounds funny.
Hippopotamus.com?
Yeah, funny. No.
Okay. Play along with me with this. Remember how I said when we were up here?
Forgotten? Would forgotten do it? No.
Play along with me here.
Okay.
So remember when we were here and I said, in its simplest, your business is about finding and or accessing what?
Capital.
Capital, but what kind of capital? And confined capital sort of sounds interesting because if you say unlocking inaccessible capital, well, that's a contradiction. If it's inaccessible, you can't unlock it. But the capital is being confined somehow.
I found the Hippo website, by the way.
Okay. What is it, a synonym website?
Give me a second. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Wordhippo.com.
Right.
I just remember the hippopotamus thing.
Yeah, well, that's why that's such a great. Another word for, I'm going to say confined. Find it. Restricted, small, cramped, limited, constricted, confining, narrow, pokey, compact, inadequate, incommodious, meager, Pinched, squeezed, straight, tight, uncomfortable, enclosed, chilled, bound, bedridden, bedfast, incapacious. Exiguous. That's it. Exiguous. Got to find a place to use that word. Circumscribed, compassed, cramped, curbed, detained, grounded, invalidated, indisposed, immured, iced, hogtied, held, hampered. This is a very good thesaurus, this is a great site.
Put a bookmark it because you may be able to use it in the future.
Oh, absolutely. I'm always looking for synonyms, and this is a great site for synonyms. In chains, in jail, laid up, locked up, on ice, sealed up. Shut up. Yeah, okay. Back to our Word document. Okay, let me ask you this. What do you think about this notion of confined capital?
Let me look up. So I know what confined means. Why, how about unlocking capital? No? Or you don't like access capital?
So the combination of it being confined and needing to be unlocked, for me, suggests expertise, right? Like it's a specialized task. If the capital is confined somehow, you have to know how to unlock it. As opposed to accessing capital, I can do that. I go to my bank, I get my credit card raised, or
Right. Unlocking capital.
See, unlocking capital is okay, but you don't know why you have to unlock it.
So I come to your house for a cocktail party and you ask me, hey, what do you do? Or sorry, your son who's younger than you says, what do you do? I say, I unlock confined capital.
No, this is an adult conversation. So at a cocktail party,
yeah,
if you said to me, I unlock confined capital, I go, whoa, what's confined capital? What are you talking about? Boom, you hooked me.
And I hooked you because now I have to tell you what unlocking means. And
yeah. Well, you have to
and then I'll tell you there's capital you can go to a bank and get yourself, and that you can do by yourself. But you may need a lot more capital than what you can get yourself. And that's when you need to hire somebody like me to unlock confined capital for you.
Yeah, it's different capital than the bank, and it has different requirements, and you have to know how to unlock it. So it's not enough to see that it's confined. You have to know how to unlock it. The guy in South Africa with a copper didn't know how to unlock the client's payment.
The SBLC, right?
Until you created that thing. Yeah. The SBLC.
Yeah.
The capital was there in plain sight. It was just confined. The guy in Mexico, holy shit. The regulatory body froze the fund. His money is confined. You unlocked his confined capital.
I don't know why the word restricted speaks more to me, although it's not a good word, than confined. Because, yeah, okay.
I worry about the connotation of restricted capital.
You're right.
It's like, yeah, the guy in Mexico, his capital was restricted because of illegal activities.
Fine.
That's what I think. That's what I think when I hear restricted capital, that there's something illegal going on. Confined capital is like, there's no baggage around that because the term didn't exist.
And let me ask you another question. You don't like blocked by any chance? Unlocking blocked capital?
Thing. Why is it blocked? What's going on there? Who's blocking it? It's just the negative connotations.
Confine. Okay. Confine it is then.
Now we may find a better, okay, hang on a sec here. When we do a blueprint with a company and we get to what we think is the core profit, the 7 words or less, we'll do a temperature check of the people in the room and we'll say, look, here's our scale. We're in the neighborhood, we're on the street, we're on the front yard, we're on the front porch, or we're in the kitchen. Where are we? So we can say, when we ask that question, we're talking about the wording, not the notion.
Yeah.
So here, unlocking confined capital, is that the right notion? Don't worry if it's not the right wording.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Okay,
100%.
good. So we're talking about the right thing.
Yeah.
We're just wordsmithing.
Yeah, I agree.
When you're wordsmithing, when we've got the notion, we can say, okay, don't worry, we'll get the words, they'll come along. Let's move along with this statement, and we'll either find evidence for why this is the right statement, or we'll find wording for a better version of it as we go along. But let's go forward because we're in the right place.
Done, for sure. Okay, we are definitely home run on the right place, for sure, I would say.
Okay. All right, you know what? Just give me a moment to add some language to this. I'm sorry, you just sort of got to sit here and watch me type, but
No worries.
All right. Is this the situation that drives the need? When businesses need capital, it is often difficult to access because traditional banks are too difficult or too expensive, or they don't know the sources of capital, or they know where the capital is but don't know how to structure a deal to access it.
Yeah.
Let's talk more colloquially.
A lot of times they talk to brokers or hire brokers who are in the job of raising money. The idea is that the broker would be able to the broker can find the money for them, and generally speaking, a lot of times when I get a call, it's through a broker. Hey, we've been hired to find capital, and we're calling you.
Okay. So same situation though, right?
Yeah.
The broker is calling you on behalf of their client because they haven't been able to do it through traditional banks. They don't know where else to find money. They've tried all the places they know, or they don't know how to structure the deal.
Yeah.
You don't know this. The reason they can't access money from traditional banks is because they can't meet the stringent requirements? Like they're leveraged at the bank or something?
So one is that they don't have my assets or my cash, so they can't buy CDs from the bank. So if I go and I buy treasury bonds from the bank in condition that they can, in condition that the bank could fund the client, but the client doesn't have my cash. So that's what I'm putting up. You know, like I'm putting up my own cash, or I shouldn't say my cash, my business cash or my investor's cash, so that the client can get a line of credit that they couldn't get otherwise.
Okay, so is a bank ever too expensive? It's usually the cheapest form of money, isn't it?
It's usually the cheapest form of money for sure.
Okay. So for one reason or another, it's just too difficult. You're tapped out at the bank, you don't have collateral, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would say difficult because they don't have adequate security for the bank to be able to get the line of credit or loan that they need.
Okay. That's much better. Okay, so now those So how do those three flow together for you now?
Perfect. You nailed it. You nailed it.
Yes, because in number one, you made that so precise. Number two allowed us to say alternative sources of capital, and it makes sense. As, okay, I tried the banks. Now I'm turning to non-bank sources. I don't know where the hell they are.
Right.
And I wouldn't know how to structure a deal. It's hard enough doing it for the goddamn banks.
The other frustrations that typically a lot of people I talk to have is they've been trying to raise money, believe it or not, for over a year. Like I usually get a call and people are frustrated and say, Tim, I've been trying to raise money for over a year.
Yeah, I've seen.
And a lot of the deals that people put in front of me are too expensive, or they want to become business partners with me, and I don't know who these people are to become a business partner, or the funding or the deal that was put in front of them is not, I don't want to say customized to them, but it's not, like the guy is a startup, like in some cases, an example, the guy's a startup, right? So startup can afford to pay money on year one, or maybe sometimes in year two. So they get access to, when they eventually find a private lender or whoever, the lender wants the money, interest payments in year one or equity or something, and they can't afford it. Or they can't, it's just the deal is not structured to serve their business.
So what about as an additional point there, the terms are too onerous?
Terms of two owners, yeah.
All right. Well, we should set up another time to finish this. This is starting to become a story.
I love it, for sure. And hey, I just want, okay, good. So I'm gonna stop the recording piece of it, okay?
Oh, right. Okay.
Give me a second. How do I do that?